So today I'm going to share an experience that I had when I was in India, which was, oh shoot, now I can't remember. Well, anyway, I'm going to do this video, and then if I've already done this one, then I'll not do it. So, but anyway, this is me being super organized. When I was in India, I was not exactly like it was a hard trip. It was a spiritual trip. It was not a tourist trip, and we were going deep and getting challenged and spiritually, so, and emotionally and physically and all the things, right? So one of the experiences that I had was that we met a guru at an ashram in Maharashtra, and the Narmada River, which is another sacred river in India, passes by there. We were staying at a place and all this had also recently been horribly flooded. Everything had been completely underwater. In fact, the hotel room I stayed in had been completely underwater only about 6 months before, which has a lot of parallels with where I live in New Orleans. Anyway, there was an ashram literally across the street, and there was this lovely guru who also spoke really good English. And we went over because they were having a celebration, and we we went, and we didn't know what was going to happen exactly. We just wanted to sort of go see the ashram, pay our respects, and the guru came out, and he offered to sit and talk to us for a bit, which was a great, wonderful honor. So we sat down, the 15 of us, and uh, he just started talking about different things. And during I honestly don't even really remember exactly what it was that was the specific topic that he was expounding on. But I do know that I got what I call one of my love hits. Okay, so if this isn't a concept that you're familiar with me, I haven't talked about it a whole lot. I've maybe only really talked about it even just one-on-one in person and not in videos. But so a love hit for me is when, and this is a connection thing, right? This is about the year of connection. So when I am meditating, praying, whatever. Sometimes when I'm just driving down the street and a song comes on that either reminds me that I am loved and held and connected at all times, and whether that's because it's a song and I know my father is showing that he's close to me, or my guides are showing that they're close to me because they're particular songs that are associated with my guides that they will just like kind of throw out at really random times, which is actually a couple of stories I could tell for other videos. But in this particular one, I got what I call a love hit, and a love hit has in the past always involved, basically, I feel just this really intense pressure and warmth in my chest, in my heart space, right? It's just super intense, so intense that I often start crying. And if it's really intense and it lasts a while, I will start sobbing, right? And it's joyful. It's completely joyful. It's a release, it's relief, it's an embodiment of unconditional love that I am feeling from God, the universe, my guides, my father, I don't know. Any number of different possibilities, right? I don't question it too much. Unconditional love, I'm good, right? Do I have to know where it's coming from? So this is the response that I have. During this chat with this guru, I got a love hit, right? So I was having a love hit, and it lasted for a long time. Sometimes they're very brief. And one of the practices actually that I've been engaging in has been trying to stay in the zone of the love hit, not get distracted, not check out, not to be too overwhelmed by it. And so I've been trying to kind of stay with it and keep it and stay in it and not go somewhere else in my head, right? And so I was trying to stay with it. And the more I stayed with it, the more emotional I became. So I literally was just, I'm streaming tears. I'm trying not to make a spectacle of myself. So I'm really trying to kind of hold it in and not because I don't want to, I'm not trying to draw a bunch of attention to myself while this guy is speaking. I didn't want to distract other people from hearing what he had to say. So I was trying to be as unemotional or at least outwardly as possible, but it was a small group of, and he was literally sitting, like I was sort of, there were two people in front of me, but I was like directly in front of him, so he could not miss it. Anyway, afterwards, we thanked him. He gave us gifts. I got a little picture that had an ohm in it. Different people got different things. And then he went to go, they were having a celebration where all the little girls of this very small town, or as many of them as wanted to, I guess, but it was probably, there might have been 100 little girls there, 80 little girls there, and they were all dressed up in their finest, most beautiful dresses. And if you saw my Facebook, you would have seen some of the pictures of some of the little girls with me, because afterwards we ended up taking some pictures with some of the families that were coming and going from the ashram at the time. But the practice, and I don't know what it was, but the practice that he was engaging in was that he and the other guys at the ashram were feeding the goddesses, right? These were the goddesses coming to, these little girls were the goddesses coming to, the embodiment of the goddesses coming to the ashram, and they were feeding them, which was just this beautiful thing. And he invited us to sit down and to also eat and to, sort of watch this happen, which was, again, an amazing experience, an amazing honor, something I like, you wouldn't even be able to really like conjure up in your mind unless you knew about this. And even then, anyway, it was this extraordinary experience. So we watch all of that happen. We have a snack. As we're getting up, we ask, can we take a picture with you? And so we're taking pictures, and he looked at me right out. So we'd finished taking pictures and we were saying goodbye, and he looked at me and he put his hand out like this and he said, "You need less of this." And I was floored. I didn't even know. I thought, oh my God, the guru just totally dissed me for being emotional. And I thought, oh, and I mean, I was struck to the core because I had been trying not to be obviously emotional. Obviously, I failed. I I was he might as well have slapped me for the feeling that I had. It felt so bad. And that's me interpreting it a particular way. But I was struck. I was absolutely struck. And it threw me off, and it made me feel so discombobulated and disconnected. And this, again, this is me. I went offline, right? I got disconnected. Because I allowed this comment to jar me in such a way. So I, thought about it and turned it over and talked about it with my roommate a little bit and thought, wow, God, this is rough, man. Because I thought, not that I wanted to get credit for the connection, right? But I couldn't imagine, like, it didn't ever occur to me. I didn't want to make a spectacle of myself because I didn't want to distract other people from what they were getting, right? It never occurred to me that would be, that if I hadn't been alone, right? Normally I'm alone when this happens, that it would be bad to like just let it out, right? Just to go, let it out, let whatever emotion I'm having out. It just never occurred to me that might be a bad thing. And then I struggled a little bit with like, is this a misogynistic kind of thing? He's telling the woman, don't be emotional, because we get that, right? So that also felt bad because there was that. I could certainly interpret that way, and I think people could understand why I might. And I thought, all right, I'm gonna sit with this. I'm not gonna reject it as misogynist BS. I'm gonna try not to take offense. I'm gonna try to see what this might mean. Maybe there's something here that I'm missing, right? So a little later, I can't remember if it was the next day or a little later that day. I could look at my journal and see because I wrote this all down. But a little later, let's say maybe the next day, I was meditating on the little porch that we had. And from the porch that we had, I could see the river, the Narmada. I could see it. And I was facing the river, and I did my normal, round of the elements and the directions and so on and so forth. And I grounded myself for meditation, and I started to focus. And of course, the intent and the question was, what, am I missing something? Is there something here I need to know? What does this mean? Is there something here? And the message I got was, be less ocean, be more river. Be less ocean, be more river. And then what I saw was, the ocean sort of being swept by tempests and big tidal waves and storms and hurricanes and everything. And then it can also be peacefully sort of lapping against a shore. But there's a lot going on top of the ocean. The ocean is almost never still. It's never still, right? It's always moving in some way. And sometimes it's moving in a bigger way than others. And yeah, it's moving on top. And yes, there's a lot going on underneath as well, but it's both, right? And the river, and I'm looking at this river, right? This river that's gently flowing by me. And I came to understand there's just as much going on underneath the river. But you'd never know. You'd never know what's underneath. All you would see is this river flowing. There are very rarely whitecaps on a river. There can be, obviously, if you've got rocks and things in the river, that causes eddies and different, swirling holes and stuff. So there can be, whitewater rapids, right? But they're not the whole river most of the time, right? And this river was very still. Like on the top, it was a very big river with a very big current, because we swam in the river. So I know how fast that current was moving because I swam against it. But I understood, if I can internalize more of this feeling, I will get more from it and it will last longer. So I thought, okay, I see. And that just flipped a switch for me. Be less ocean, be more river. Be more river, be less ocean. Don't be thrown with the tempests. Don't be thrown when somebody says something to you. Don't be thrown, right? Don't automatically create a wave. Stay still. Let it settle. Let it sink to the bottom of the river. Let it go through a little bit. See what comes of it. And that was a really beautiful message. So regardless of what that guru may or may not have meant, the message that I eventually got from it was a beautiful message. Be more river, be less ocean. There's just as much interesting stuff going on below the river. There's just as much power. But you can't necessarily tell from the top because you stay serene and you don't react, right? You don't have as much reaction. It was good for me. Thank you. Appreciate you watching. Always happy to hear comments. Bye.